This helped me scale my Facebook ad accounts to over 200 million in spend. But most people running ads, even the experts, have no idea what it is. I call it a pod. Just one of my pods manages over $1.6 million a month in spend for 8 different offers. And I myself am not involved at all anymore with the ad creation or optimizations or anything like that. So it's fair to say if you ever want to run paid ads at scale, you need to know what a pod is and how to set one up for your business. Luckily, that's exactly what I'm about to show you. My name is Mike Montempo, and over the past 7 years, my team and I at Client Accelerators have handled more than $200 million in advertising spend, managing hundreds of distinct offers across a vast array of industries. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about setting up your own pod. So first off, what is a pod? And it's pretty simple. A pod is a growth team, but the way it's set up is the secret. Each pod has its own CEO, its own media buyers, and its own creatives who own everything about an offer's results. Now I'll get into the details of how I structure all of this in a second, because first I want to share how a single pod runs every ad account without me in any of them. And this is important because I used to run my business and marketing exactly how most entrepreneurs do. For years, I had my hands in everything. I was running multiple offers, each one pulling anywhere from $10K a month all the way up to a couple $1 million a month. And I did what you're supposed to do. I hired a media buyer for each offer, copywriters, editors, and I had a bigger team every quarter. At our peak, we were running over a few thousand ads a month, and from the outside, it looked like we were winning. But I was still inside every account doing quality control. Every new offer, every account that tanked, it all landed back on my desk because I was the only one who could see the full picture. And the more we scaled, the more money we made, but the less I kept. But I was actually making less money than before. And that's when it clicked. I realized the model itself was broken. The problem was never my team or the offers. It was that everything still ran through me. And that's true for almost any business. Eventually, the founder becomes the bottleneck on everything. So I tore it down and rebuilt the whole company around one idea. Instead of one big business with me at the center, I'd build one small, complete business and make copies of it. That's a pod. And that's what helped me scale my accounts to over $326 million in client revenue. Now, like I mentioned before, a pod is one complete, self-contained mini business. The person who runs it is called a growth marketing manager, and they run that pod like a CEO. They own the profit and loss, they own the results for every offer they run, and they've got their own media buyers, their own creative team, and their own data analyst under them. I'm not the one micromanaging the account and the people in the pod at all. So a pod isn't a department or a team. It's a whole company shrunk down. Now let's go inside the pod because the structure is where the magic is. At the top of every pod sits one person, the growth marketing manager. And I want to be really clear about what this role actually is because it's not an account director or a team lead or any of the usual agency titles. The GMM is the CEO of that pod, full stop. They own the P&L for the entire unit. They own the relationships with the biggest clients in the pod personally. They're on those calls every single week. They hire their own team. They set the strategic direction for every offer the pod touches. And here's the part that makes it real. Their bonus is tied to the monthly forecast. Every single month on the 25th, the senior media buyers in training, the growth marketing managers and creative strategists are all submitting forecasts for each of their clients based upon a revenue, ROAS, and net profit target for every single client that they've agreed upon, which then informs us how much we actually need to spend to hit those targets. The leadership team then comes together on the 1st or the 2nd of the month to either approve or adjust the forecasts before they are set in stone. So the GMM fully owns delivering the forecasting targets for the month, and then the pod only collects its bonus when the accounts hit or beat the target. Not get close to, beat. come in under 100% on a client, and the bonus on that account is 0. And here's what most people miss. It's not just the GMM's bonus. Every seat in the pod owns a defined slice of the same bonus pool. The senior media buyers, the junior media buyers, the creative strategists, the copywriters, the editors, the same pool, same targets, same outcome. So when a client's account beats its number, everyone in that pod gets paid more. And when it misses, everyone feels it. The editor cutting your ads has money riding on your clients, not just the person on your weekly call. Now the GMM just holds the biggest share of that pool, bigger than any other seat. So when I say they run it like a CEO, I mean they have a CEO's incentive. The forecast they sign their name to on the 1st or 2nd is the number their paycheck lives on or dies by the 30th. Miss the forecast? Miss the money. There's no version of this where the pod has a bad month and anyone in it gets paid like it was a good one. And the targets aren't static either. Every time a pod beats its number, next month's target ratchets up. So the bonus never turns into a salary in disguise. It stays a number you have to go take every single month. The only person a GMM reports to is me, once a week, and that's the entire chain of command. Then underneath the GMM, every senior buyer carries 4 to 5 offers. That's it. Not 10, not 15, 4 or 5. And when I say they carry an offer, I mean they own it start to finish. The client relationship, the strategy, the forecast they commit to, the daily numbers. They take strategic alignment from the GMM, but they also run their accounts autonomously. The GMM isn't in there second guessing every budget change. Underneath them, junior media buyers handle the execution, campaign builds, daily monitoring, QA, reporting. So the senior buyer's brain stays on the strategy and the junior's hands stay on the keyboard. Nobody's doing both jobs badly. Then the offer gets its own creative engine, a creative strategist who owns the concept pipeline and the win rate, with copywriters and editors producing under them. They need to hit 100% of the forecasted concepts that got locked into place on the 1st or the 2nd of the month on a cycle of under 15 days from idea to live ad. And here's the part most agencies never do. We track a pod utilization rate for every person in the unit. If someone's utilization climbs above 90% for a few weeks straight, that's not a badge of honor, that's a burnout signal. Quality drops, briefs get rushed, and the client feels it about a month later. So instead of piling on more work, that number triggers a hire. Too low, that tells us the pod's overstaffed and the margin is leaking. The number sizes the team, not gut feel, not who's complaining the loudest. So every offer gets a senior buyer whose entire book is 4 or 5 accounts, a creative team built around it, a junior executing the daily work, and a GMM personally on the hook for the result with their own money riding on it. It's a small company built around each offer with its own CEO and its own capacity gauge so it never gets overloaded and never gets bloated. And each pod runs itself. Then when a pod fills up, I don't pile more offers or work onto it. Instead, I create another full pod with its own CEO. That's how I'm able to spend over $40 million a year on ads, because I'm still not the buyer on any single offer, and I'm not the person every decision waits on. Now, if you want to set up your own pod, I go through all the technical details in my 9-figure workshop. I cover how the units get built, how the pay is structured, how we forecast the numbers, and more. It's linked below if you want to go deeper while we keep going. Okay, now you might be doing the math and thinking, Mike, a full pod is a dozen salaries: a CEO, senior and junior buyers, a creative strategist, copywriters, editors, a project manager, and an analyst. Building complete teams like that should wreck your margins. And that's the whole reason most companies just pile more work onto the people they already have. And to be fair, it should. If I paid my team the way most companies pay theirs, but I don't. Every pod runs on 2 numbers and they do completely different jobs. The first is the base. You got salaries, software, overhead. It's the cost of keeping the pod running, and I treat it exactly like that, a cost. The base keeps the lights on. Nobody gets rich off of it. The second number is the bonus, and you already know how that works. monthly targets, shared pool, everyone's slice tied to the same outcome. But here's the inversion most people miss. In a traditional agency or in-house team, the base is the compensation. The bonus, if it exists at all, is a small percentage on top. Basically a nice to have. In a pod, it's flipped. The base is just the floor. The bonus is where the real money lives, and the only way to collect it is to actually perform. So the question stops being, how do I keep my job, and becomes, how do I grow this account? These sound similar, but they're not. One optimizes for survival, the other optimizes for your results. Now, the reason this works so well is because of a harsh lesson I learned. Whatever you pay people for is the thing that they're gonna optimize. If you pay your media buyer a flat salary, then you've paid them to protect the salary, and they'll do just enough to do that. Pay your team for activity, and you'll get activity. But if you're paying them to grow offers and scale accounts, then that's exactly what you'll get. Now, for some people, this probably sounds like just a clever way I structured my company, a smart org chart and a smart pay plan that let me scale without becoming the bottleneck. But the clever structure isn't what actually matters here. Underneath all of it, the pod is just my answer to one question, and it's a question you can ask about anyone you pay to get you a result. A new hire, a partner, a contractor, or an agency. Who here actually loses money? If I do. The truth is, for most businesses, the honest answer is nobody. Take a traditional ad agency, or the way most companies build their in-house marketing team. Picture your account dropping 30% next month. Whose paycheck actually changes? Not the media buyers, not the account managers, not anyone's. The salary is still clear on the first, and the retainer does too, same as always. Nobody there has a single personal dollar riding on your result, so nobody really has to care about it. And it's the same with a lot of teams. If the company has a rough quarter, does anyone below you actually feel it, or does payroll run the same either way? A pod is just how I force the answer to that question to be every single person who touches your account. Their pay only turns into profit when your numbers hit. So when your account has a bad month, they feel it in their own pocket. For our biggest clients, that person isn't acting like a vendor at all. They're running your marketing like your own CMO, on your calls, owning your plan for the quarter. So strip away the org chart and the pay plan, and the structure was never really the product. Ownership is the product. You're not renting a few hours from people who will never feel your wins or your losses. You're getting one person who owns the result, with a team under them to do the work, and whose income only grows when yours does. And that's true whether you're hiring an agency or building that seat yourself inside your own company. The bigger truth here, beyond pods or agencies or business, is that we're understanding incentives. People mostly do what they're paid to do. That applies to all of us. Pay for time and people protect their time. Pay for activity and you're gonna get activity. Pay only when the customer wins, and winning becomes the only thing anyone optimizes for. So if you wanna know how any person or company will really behave, don't listen to what they promise. Look at what actually makes them money. Behavior follows the incentive just about every single time. So here's what I'd actually do with all this. Before you sign with anyone or renew with the agency you've already got, ask them that one question. Does a single person on your side lose money if I do? If the answer is no, and you want it to be yes, that's the whole reason my pods exist. The link below is where you talk to my team. We'll look at your real numbers and tell you straight whether a pod is even the right fit for you. And if it's not, we'll tell you that too. Either way, you walk away knowing exactly what you're paying for. Click the link below and we'll talk soon.